In the year 1945, the Pacific. The Douglas A-1 Skyraider enters service just as World War II ends. It never drops a bomb in anger against Japan. The Navy considers it a minor success, a good carrier-based attack plane, nothing revolutionary. When jets arrived 5 years later, the A-1 became yesterday's technology. Squadrons transition to sleeker, faster aircraft. The prop-driven Skyraider becomes a museum piece. Most of them head to the scrapyard. But some end up in an Arizona desert, mothballed in case they're ever needed again. 20 years later, the Air Force faces a crisis. Their cutting-edge jets are failing at close air support. Too fast to see targets, too thirsty to loiter, too fragile to absorb ground fire from missions that require flying low and slow. Someone remembers those old planes in the desert. Someone suggests an experiment. And the dinosaur wakes up. Major Bernie Fisher is among the first pilots assigned to fly combat missions in an A-1. His initial reaction: they want me to fly what? The aircraft is older than he is. It has propellers. It's slower than some helicopters. In an era of Mach 2 jets and guided missiles, the A-1 feels like showing up to a gunfight with a musket. But Fisher quickly discovers something the jet pilots are missing. In Vietnam, slow is survivable. Old is reliable. Simple is repairable. The A-1 can carry 8,000 pounds of ordnance and stay over a target for 10 hours. It can take hits that would down a jet and keep flying. It can land on 1,000 feet of dirt strip to rescue a downed pilot. It became the most requested close air support platform in Vietnam. And 34 pilots will die flying it not because the aircraft failed them, but because even the perfect tool can't fix a fundamentally broken strategy. This is the story of how a forgotten relic from World War II became essential to Vietnam, and what happened when tactical success met strategic failure. If you've ever watched your organization ignore obvious solutions while chasing expensive new ones, you'll want to hear the rest of this story. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens when tactical brilliance meets strategic bankruptcy and the uncomfortable lesson that follows.
1964. South Vietnam. Marine Lieutenant James Webb crouches in elephant grass, radio pressed to his ear. His platoon, 23 men, has been pinned down for 6 hours. Viet Cong on 3 sides. Back to a river. The F-4 Phantom screamed overhead an hour ago. Dropped its payload in one thunderous pass. Then vanished to refuel. The VC waited 15 minutes and resumed firing. Webb keys his radio again. Any station, Groundhog 6. We need air support that can stay. Static. Then, from somewhere above policy meetings he'll never attend. Negative, Groundhog. Fast movers only. Next strike inbound 40 minutes. Webb looks at his men. Count the ones who won't make 40 minutes. This scene repeats across Vietnam. Different call signs. Same outcome. 6 weeks later. The briefing room is Arctic with air conditioning and bad news. Defense analyst spreads reconnaissance photos across the table. Gentlemen, our close air support doctrine is failing. F-4 loader time, 90 minutes maximum. Marines are pinned down for 6, 8, 10 hours. The jets drop ordnance and leave. The enemy waits them out. Air Force General fucking hates this conversation, so we build a dedicated CAS platform. 8 to 10 years of development. 15 billion minimum. Then what do you suggest? The analyst slides a grainy photograph across polished mahogany. An aircraft that looks like it escaped from a museum. We already built one. 1945. We have 266 in desert storage. The A-1 Skyraider. Silence stretches like wire about to snap. You want to reactivate a propeller plane. In the jet age. I want to match the tool to the mission, sir. Speed doesn't matter if you can't stay overhead. This aircraft can loiter for 10 hours. Carry 8,000 pounds of any ordnance we produce. Survive ground fire. Talk directly to troops. The general stares at the photograph. Radial engine, straight wings, everything the Air Force has spent 15 years making obsolete. If this works, it'll be the most embarrassing success in Air Force history. Better embarrassing than ineffective, sir. March 1965. Hurlburt Field, Florida. Major Bernie Fisher reports for specialized training expecting classified jets. Instead, He finds aircraft his father might have flown. A-1 Skyraiders sit on the tarmac like dinosaurs at a rocket convention. Fisher approaches the nearest one, touches the propeller blade. Solid. Real. Impossibly anachronistic. The instructor appears beside him. Major Fisher. That's your ride to Vietnam. Fisher laughs. Waiting for the punchline. The instructor doesn't smile. You're serious. Get in. Familiarization flight in 20 minutes. Inside the cockpit, Fisher inventories his new weapon. Maximum speed, 318 miles per hour. His last jet did 1,400. Loiter time, 10 plus hours. His F4, 90 minutes. Ordnance, 15 hardpoints. Can carry napalm, cluster bombs, rockets, and 20mm cannons simultaneously, something no jet can match. The instructor's voice crackles through the headset. She's slow. She's old. But in Vietnam, she's what Marines pray for. Fisher looks at instruments designed before transistors existed. If she's so capable, why'd we mothball her? Because we prepared for World War III. Turns out Vietnam isn't a nuclear war. It's something we didn't plan for. The A-1 accidentally stayed perfect for a war we didn't know we'd fight. Fisher starts the Wright R-3350 radial engine. 28 cylinders cough to life like awakening machinery from another era. He suddenly understands. Modern isn't always better. Sometimes it's just newer. April 1965. South Vietnam. Fisher's first combat mission arrives faster than his doubts can solidify. ARVN troops pinned down. Grid coordinates. Visual identification required. Jungle too thick for anything else. He flies the A-1 into contact at 200 miles per hour, slow enough to see individual soldiers through canopy gaps. Forward air controller marks friendly positions with purple smoke. Hobo 51, hit the tree line 50 meters north of my smoke. Fisher orbits, actually orbits, doesn't just pass overhead. While talking directly to the ground, I see your smoke. Friendlies, put your heads down. First pass, 20mm cannon, precision fire walking toward enemy positions. Radio, good hits, hobo. Shift left 20 meters. Second pass, adjusts. Napalm. Third pass, rockets on secondary positions. Fourth, fifth, sixth passes over 3 hours. The enemy breaks contact. ARVN advances. Fisher stays overhead until they secure the position. Mission clock, 7 hours on station. An F-4 would have refueled twice. Left gaps the enemy would have exploited. Landing back at base, Fisher climbs from the cockpit. Counts 23 bullet holes in wings and fuselage. The crew chief runs a hand over damage. Oil leak from this one, but she'll fly tomorrow. These things don't quit. Fisher looks back at the aircraft. Ugly, outdated, utterly effective. I get it now. This isn't about being modern. It's about being right. The crew chief grins. Welcome to the SPAD drivers, sir. We are the dinosaurs nobody expected to need. Fisher stares at the A-1, understanding something the Pentagon took months to accept. Sometimes the perfect solution already exists. You just forgot you built it. Takeaway from this chapter. Path dependency creates blindness. Institutions optimize for assumed futures. World War III, nuclear exchange, conventional warfare. When reality diverges, obsolete can mean perfectly suited for a problem we stopped preparing for. The A-1 succeeded because it wasn't designed for modern warfare. It was designed for persistence, flexibility, communication. Exactly what Vietnam required and jets couldn't provide. The tool you discard today might be the solution you desperately need tomorrow. Progress isn't linear. Sometimes the answer is waiting in a desert, covered in dust, 20 years out of fashion. June 1965. Fisher sits through a briefing that redefines his understanding of air combat. The operations officer draws a circle on the map over North Vietnam. When a pilot ejects in hostile territory, he has maybe 4 hours before capture. Maybe less. The helicopter needs that long just to get there. Someone has to keep the enemy off him the entire time. Fisher does the math silently. 4 hours overhead. His old F-4 carried 90 minutes of fuel. That's where Sandy comes in, the officer continues. A-1s escort the rescue. You orbit the survivor, suppress enemy forces, mark his position, guide the helicopter in. The entire time. No gaps. If you're not overhead, the rescue doesn't happen. Another pilot asks the obvious question, what if we get shot down? Then another Sandy comes for you. We don't leave people behind. Ever. Fisher stares at the mission profile. This isn't about dropping bombs and returning to base. This is about becoming a human shield, airborne, vulnerable, committed for hours to saving one person. Jets can't do this. The officer's expression answers before his words. Jets refuel every 90 minutes. Would you want to be on the ground, hiding from the enemy, watching your air cover disappear twice during your rescue? Fisher wouldn't. 3 weeks later. The scramble alarm tears Fisher from shallow sleep. He's running before he's fully conscious. Flight suit, survival vest, pistol. Other pilots converge on the operations shack.
F-105 down near Thanh Hoa.
Pilot ejected. Call sign Falcon 04, Major Richard Kin. US Sandy 01. 3 more SPADs launching behind you. Fisher sprints to his aircraft. The crew chief already has the engine running. Radial rumbling like controlled thunder. Wheels up in 4 minutes. 40 miles from the survivor. Fisher's radio crackles with emergency frequency. Any aircraft, this is Falcon 04. I'm on the ground. I'm hurt. Fisher keys his MIC. Falcon 04, Sandy 01. We are inbound from your position. Authenticate. What's your wife's maiden name? Silence. Then, quieter than before. Mitchell. Beth Mitchell. Why? Standard procedure. VC monitor emergency frequencies, pretend to be downed pilots, lure rescue into ambush. Your wife's maiden name isn't in any document they could capture. Jesus. Okay. I'm in a rice paddy. Legs broken. I can hear them searching the tree line. Maybe 300 meters away. Fisher checks his fuel, his ordnance load, his heart rate. Stay quiet. Don't transmit unless I ask. We'll be overhead in 12 minutes. 12 minutes. Kin could be captured in 12 minutes. Fisher advances throttle to maximum continuous power. The A-1 wasn't built for speed, but it'll give him everything it has. At the station. Fisher arrives first. Circles at 1,500 feet, searching jungle canopy for one man in a landscape designed to hide armies. Falcon 04, Sandy 01 overhead. Pop your smoke. Orange smoke drifts from rice paddy. Small, vulnerable, impossibly exposed. I have you. Stay down. 3 more A-1s join formation. Fisher coordinates without thinking. Hundreds of hours of training compressed into automatic precision. Sandy 02, high cover, 2,500 feet. Watch for AAA. Sandy 03 and 04, racetrack pattern with me. 3-minute intervals. I want one of us always in position to fire. The pattern establishes itself, textbook geometry converted to protective orbit. While Fisher climbs away to reload and reposition, Sandy 03 descends into firing position. Overlapping coverage. No gaps. Fisher marks Kin's position with white phosphorus rocket. Jolly green. When you get here, survivor is 50 meters north of white smoke. The helicopter won't arrive for 3 more hours. Fisher settles into the rhythm of persistence. Movement in the tree line. Fisher doesn't wait for positive identification. This close to the survivor, anything moving is a threat. He rolls in, 20mm cannon punching through jungle canopy. Tracers probe vegetation like surgical instruments. No return fire. Maybe they were civilians. Maybe they were VC scouts. Fisher will never know. He climbs back to altitude, checks fuel, still good for 5 more hours. Enemy soldiers emerge from the tree line, moving toward Kin's position. Now there's no ambiguity. Fisher coordinates with Sandy 03. I'll take the western group with rockets. You hit the eastern approach with guns. The attack runs overlap, one aircraft diving while another climbs away, maintaining constant pressure. The enemy scatters back into jungle cover. Fisher has fired 16 rockets, 1,200 rounds of 20mm ammunition. His wings still carry napalm, cluster bombs, and more rockets. The A-1 was designed to carry everything. Now Fisher understands why. Helicopter finally inbound. Massive HH-3 Jolly Green Giant. Call sign Jolly 22. The pilot sounds nervous. Sandy 01, we are 10 minutes out. And the area is still hot. Sporadic ground fire. We'll suppress during your approach. Come straight in, don't loiter. Copy. We don't plan to. Fisher positions his flight in protective formation around the helicopter's approach corridor. When Jolly 22 arrives, huge, loud, vulnerable, all four A-1s orbit within gun range, daring the enemy to fire. The helicopter hovers. Parascuman descends on cable. Reaches Kin. Splints the broken leg with speedborne for emergency. Then, RPG launch from tree line. Smoke trail arcing toward the hovering helicopter. Fisher sees it, reacts before thought. Rockets already leaving his wing. His ordnance intercepts the RPG team's position. The missile misses Jolly 22 by 20 feet, and detonates in rice paddy. Parascuman hoists Kin aboard. The helicopter climbs away, faster than anything that size should move. Fisher makes one final pass. Napalm on Kin's destroyed F-105. Can't leave anything for enemy intelligence. The wreckage burns behind him as he climbs to escort altitude. 4.5 hours airborne. Fisher lands with fuel for 3 more. He finds Kin in the medical tent, leg casted, alive, whole. Kin looks up. They told me you stayed overhead the entire time. That's the job. Jets would've left gaps. You'd be in Hanoi right now. Fisher doesn't say this cruelly, just factually. Kin extends his hand. Fisher shakes it. I owe you my life. Fisher thinks about the aircraft, the fuel capacity, the ammunition load, the engine that doesn't quit. You owe the airplane. We just fly it. 2 months later. Sandy missions become Fisher's identity. But every strength creates a predictable pattern. Predictability enables counter-tactics. The enemy adapts to your success. Excellence doesn't guarantee safety. Sometimes it makes you a more valuable target. September 1965. AP Back District. Fisher receives the briefing third hand. Coordinates, target description, clearance codes. Intelligence officer taps the map. Village of Than Phu. 20 military-age males observed yesterday. Weapons cache suspected. You're cleared hot. Fisher copies coordinates into his kneeboard. Standard interdiction mission. Fisher descends through scattered clouds, searching for military structures, fighting positions, anything matching the intelligence brief. He sees farmers. Women carrying baskets. Children driving water buffalo. He keys the radio. Nail 21. Hobo 51 overhead. I'm not seeing military targets. Looks like civilians. Forward air controller responds immediately. Hobo, intelligence confirms VC presence. Target is approved at command level. You're cleared to engage. Fisher orbits again, slower. Searching for weapons, fortifications, anything that justifies what he's about to do. Nothing. Nail, I need confirmation. These people are fleeing into the tree line. Standard civilian behavior when aircraft appear. Hobo 51, your orders are clear. Target coordinates approved. Execute your mission. Fisher stares down at people who don't look like soldiers. His finger rests on the weapons release. The system says they're the enemy. The system has intelligence he doesn't have. The system wouldn't clear a civilian village. Would it? He rolls in. Napalm on the village outskirts. Cluster bombs on the tree line where people fled. Secondary explosions bloom. Fisher's brain catalogues them automatically as ammunition cook-off. He climbs away, doesn't look back. 3 days later. Intelligence debrief. The analyst spreads reconnaissance photos across the table. Post-strike assessment shows no weapons cache. Village elders claim VC departed 2 days before the strike. They had a warning. Fisher studies the photos. Sees what he destroyed. Rice stores, not ammunition. Food preparation areas, not fighting positions. The after-action report slides across to him. 18 enemy KIA. Fisher's voice comes out flat. Those weren't enemies. They were civilians. The intelligence officer doesn't meet his eyes. The system requires numbers, Major. Body count is how we measure progress. Progress toward what? That's above my pay grade. Fisher walks out. Doesn't salute. Doesn't speak. That night, alone in his quarters, he stares at mission maps and sees faces instead of coordinates. He did everything right. Perfect weapons delivery. Followed orders.
Proper procedures.
And he probably killed innocent people. December 1965. A Shao Valley. The radio crackles Fisher awake. All sandy elements. Immediate scramble. A Shao Special Forces camp under sustained attack. He's running before the message ends. The camp sits in a valley surrounded by mountains, geographically indefensible, strategically positioned to monitor the Laos border. 400 Green Berets and indigenous troops holding against 2,000 NVA regulars. And the weather is apocalyptic. Monsoon ceiling at 500 feet. Visibility under a mile. Rain turning the world grey and indistinct. F-4s attempted support an hour ago. Couldn't operate safely below clouds at their speeds. Too fast to see, too fast to react, too fast to survive at that altitude. Fisher descends into the soup. The A-1 can fly slow enough to navigate what jets can't survive. He breaks through the cloud base and suddenly the valley materializes. Traces, explosions, smoke markers identifying friendly positions. SPAD 01, this is a Shao ground. You can work under this ceiling. Affirm. Where do you need us? Everywhere. NVA hitting us from 3 sides. Friendlies marked with green smoke. Fisher coordinates with his wingmen, establishes pattern, divides responsibility, begins the work of keeping people alive. He talks directly with the ground controller, voice calm despite the chaos. I see your green smoke. The next rocket goes 20 meters west of your position. Heads down. 14 attacks passed in 6 hours. Fisher watches enemy assault waves break apart under 20 mm fire, regroup in the jungle, attack again. The camp holds. Day 2. Fisher's flight rotates with another sandy team. Continuous coverage.
No gaps.
The pattern repeats. NVA attack, A-1 suppress, ground forces hold, NVA withdraw, and prepare for the next assault. After-action reports show the numbers. 143 enemy KIA. Multiple attacks repelled. Camp is still holding. Fisher feels like they're winning. Day 3. Fisher flies his 4th mission over a Shao in 72 hours. The NVA numbers haven't decreased. They keep coming. He keys the radio. Where are these guys coming from? We've killed hundreds. Forward air controller responds matter-of-factly. Ho Chi Minh Trail. Across the border in Laos. They're infiltrating through jungle routes we can't see. Fisher processes this. So let's hit the trail. Cut off the source. Negative. Laos is off limits. Political restrictions. We cannot cross the border. The implication settles over Fisher like weight, so they can resupply indefinitely and we just keep killing the new ones who arrive. That's the mission, Hobo. Fisher orbits the camp, watching NVA prepare another assault. He can stop this attack. And the next. And the one after that. But he can't stop them from coming. The camp commander's voice breaks through the radio. Controlled, professional, defeated. All aircraft, a Shao ground. We are being overrun. Executing full evacuation. Fisher provides cover fire as helicopters extract the last defenders. Makes gun runs on NVA advancing through perimeter breaches he can't close fast enough. He flies a final pass. Watches enemy soldiers raise their flag over positions Americans held for 3 days. Da Nung. The operations officer delivers the debrief like he's reading from a script. Outstanding work, gentlemen. You stopped them for 72 hours. Gave us time to evacuate personnel and equipment. Fisher's voice comes out harder than intended. We lost the camp, sir. Tactical withdrawal. Different from defeat. Will they just take the next camp? And the next? The operations officer's expression shifts, irritation replacing professional courtesy. That's not your concern, Major. You fly missions. We handle strategy. He sits at a field desk, writing by flashlight. Dear Barbara, we are winning every battle. I watch it happen from above. Perfect strikes, enemy retreating, our forces advancing. The reports say we are succeeding. But the enemy we kill today is replaced tomorrow. We are not allowed to attack where they come from. We measure progress in bodies counted, camps held temporarily, missions flown. What's the endgame? I don't know anymore. Fisher doesn't send the letter. He folds it, puts it in his footlocker with the others, and tries to sleep. Outside, another scramble alarm sounds. Another mission. Another perfect execution of tactics that won't change anything. The A1 works exactly as designed. The war doesn't. This is where most stories would stop, with the moral injury, the doubt, the personal crisis. But Fisher's story gets more complicated. What happens when you're the best at something that shouldn't be done at all? Hit the like button if you want to see how this contradiction plays out, and drop a comment. Have you ever been excellent at the wrong thing? March 10th, 1966. Ashau Valley. The same camp. Different day. Same enemy. Special Forces retook Ashau 6 weeks after Fisher watched them evacuate. Now they're defending it again against another coordinated assault. Fisher leads 5 A1s, hobo flight, making continuous attack runs while 2,000 NVA regulars probe the perimeter. Ground fire intensifies with each pass. Traces visible in daylight, which means the volume of fire is extraordinary. Radio crackles. Hobo 01, ground. Enemy breaking through outer wire. Fisher coordinates suppression runs, watching his pilots work the pattern they've flown 100 times. Then everything changes. Major Dafford Myers, calls sign Hobo 51, Fisher's wingman, takes a 37mm round through his engine cowling. Hobo 01, I'm hit. Losing hydraulics. Engine smoking. Fisher pulls alongside, assesses damage visually. Can you make the coast? Negative. I'm putting it down. The camp strip. Fisher looks at the airstrip below, dirt runway carved into valley floor, currently bracketed by enemy positions. Jump, that strip is hot. Enemies all over it. No choice. I'm going in. Fisher watches Myers descend, aircraft trailing smoke, and begins calculating probabilities he doesn't want to solve. The next 90 seconds. Myers touches down hard on 2,500 feet of dirt. The aircraft rolls to a stop, still smoking. Myers scrambles from the cockpit, runs for cover near the tree line. Enemy soldiers emerge from jungle edges, converging on the downed pilot. Fisher's brain processes options with mechanical precision. Option 1. Follow doctrine. Call helicopter rescue. Helicopter ETA 45 minutes minimum. Myers' survival probability surrounded by 2,000 enemy troops, maybe 5%. Option 2. Land. Extract Myers personally. Violates every safety protocol. High probability both die. Command frequency cuts through his thoughts. Hobo 01, do not attempt landing. Repeat, do not land. Strip is under fire. Await helicopter support. Myers' voice, breathless. Bernie. They're coming. I can see them. Maybe 200 meters out. Another pilot tries optimism. Hobo 01, we'll suppress. We can keep them off jump for. Myers cuts him off. Not for 45 minutes you can't. Fisher makes the decision between one heartbeat and the next. All hobo flights, this is Hobo 01. I'm going in. I need continuous fire on both sides of that strip. Do not stop shooting no matter what. Hobo 01, you are ordered to. Fisher switches frequency, ignoring command. Jump, get ready to move. I'll be on the ground for 30 seconds. Be at my aircraft. 401s transform into aerial artillery, rockets, napalm, 20mm cannon walking the tree line on both sides of the strip. Continuous explosions create walls of fire. Enemy troops forced to cover or die. Fisher's approach. He descends through the suppression pattern, traces passing close enough to see individual rounds. Uses smoke from Myers' burning aircraft as wind indicator. Habit from 1,000 landings, now performed under fire. Configures the A1. Flaps down, gear down, slowest controllable speed. A mortar round detonates 100 feet right. Shrapnel pings off armor plating. Fisher touches down hard. The strip wasn't designed for precision. Mud, debris, battle damage. Aircraft slews left. He corrects with the rudder, brakes aggressively. Rolls 1,200 feet, turns toward Myers while still moving. Another mortar, 50 feet left. The explosion rocks his aircraft sideways. Myers sprints from cover, running toward Fisher's moving aircraft. Enemy soldiers 200 meters away, firing. Rounds kick up dirt around Myers' feet. He's hit, leg buckles, he stumbles, keeps running. Reaches the aircraft. Climbs onto the wing. The problem materializes. A1 is single seat. No passenger space. No jump seat. Nothing. The solution occurs to both men simultaneously. Myers climbs into the cockpit, sits on Fisher's lap. Two full-grown men crammed into space designed for one. A control stick jammed between them. Myers holds his legs up to avoid interfering with rudder pedals. Fisher's voice stays calm. This is going to be tight. Hold on. Fisher advances throttle to maximum power. The right R-3350 responds with 2,800 horsepower of controlled fury. But the aircraft is grossly overweight. 2 men, full fuel, remaining ammunition. Physics doesn't negotiate. The A1 accelerates slowly across a rough strip. 40 miles per hour, 60, 80. Trees at the far end approach faster than airspeed builds. The enemy realizes what's happening. Fire intensifies. 85 miles per hour. Fisher pulls back on the stick. The aircraft lifts off with maybe 100 feet of runway remaining. Clears the tree line by 15 feet. Branches scrape the belly. Both men press together in a cockpit never meant for this, climbing away from a strip that's already taking mortar fire where they just were. Fisher's voice comes out steady. You good, jump? Myers manages a laugh. I'm alive. That's good enough. 6 months later, President Johnson places the Medal of Honor around Fisher's neck. Blue ribbon, gold star, weight of national gratitude. The citation reads, for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty. Standing ovation. Photos with the president. Handshakes from generals whose orders Fisher ignored to make the rescue possible. Newsreel cameras capture everything for national broadcast. 3 weeks later, he sits alone, holding the medal, thinking about what it represents. The rescue was real. Myers lived. That matters. But the camp they defended that day fell 2 weeks after Fisher's mission. The 2,000 NVA troops they fought were resupplied and attacked the next position. The strategic situation didn't change. His tactical miracles saved one life. The war continued, killing dozens. Fisher looks at the medal. Beautiful, heavy, true, and insufficient. Da Nang Operations Board. Same day. Someone updates the casualty chart. A1 pilots lost. 19. The number keeps growing. Individual heroism achieves tactical miracles. Fisher proved that. But courage can't compensate for strategic failure. And the system celebrates visible valor while ignoring invisible bankruptcy, awarding medals for rescues while losing campaigns, honoring pilots for missions that don't change outcomes, measuring success in individual acts of bravery instead of collective achievement of objectives. Fisher saved Myers. The war saved nothing. June 1967.
Ho Chi Minh Chau, Laos.
Fisher, 200 combat missions behind him now, leads 6 A1s into night interdiction. The intelligence briefing was specific. A major supply convoy, 300 trucks moving south with weapons and ammunition for NVA forces. Fisher coordinates the strike with precision earned from years of experience. First A1 drops flares. The jungle illuminates. Trucks strung along narrow mountain passes, trapped by terrain into a perfect kill zone. Second A1 hits lead vehicles with rockets. Trucks stop, blocking forward movement. Third and fourth saturate the middle with cluster bombs. Secondary explosions bloom. Ammunition cooking off. Fisher takes the rear. Napalm transforming the escape route into inferno. 47 trucks destroyed. Fires visible for 20 miles. The debriefing officer greets Fisher with genuine enthusiasm. Outstanding work, Major. 47 confirmed kills. One of the most successful interdiction missions of the month. Fisher allows himself to feel accomplished. The mission was textbook perfect. Next morning, the intelligence officer spreads reconnaissance photos across Fisher's breakfast table. Thought you'd want to see the full picture from last night. Different trail. 15 miles west. 250 trucks passing through while Fisher's flight destroyed their 47. Fisher stares at the images. How many convoys got through total? 4 that we detected. Probably more than we didn't. We estimate you interdicted about 16% of the total flow. The number sits in Fisher's chest like a weight. 16%. It's still a success, Major. High Command is pleased with. Can we bomb the ports where these supplies arrive? The rail yards in Hanoi? The actual sources? Political restrictions. Risk of Chinese intervention. Off limits. Fisher's voice comes out flat, so they just keep coming. Forever. And we keep destroying 16%. That's the mission. Fisher doesn't respond. What's left to say? He's executing perfect tactics in service of an unwinnable strategy. His skill sustains a failed approach. Every successful mission is another turn of a wheel that goes nowhere. 1968. More A-1 pilots lost. Memorial wall names are increasing. Enemy anti-aircraft guns are more sophisticated now, positioned specifically to ambush Sandy rescue orbits because the enemy learned the same patterns Fisher relies on. Fisher still flies. His eyes show weariness no amount of sleep can fix. 1969. Fisher completes his tour. Rotates home. Younger pilots arrive to flyer ones. Same missions. Same constraints. Same cycle. 1970. The A-1 program quietly scales down. Jets finally get better close air support variants. But the strategic approach remains unchanged. November 7, 1972. Final A-1 combat mission flown over Vietnam. The aircraft is officially retired from service. Final statistics paint their own story. A-1 Skyraiders lost, 266 pilots killed, 34 successful rescue missions, 187 lives saved, 187. Strategic outcome, defeat. 2024. National Museum of the Air Force, Dayton, Ohio. Bernie Fisher, 94 years old now, stands beside a restored A-1 Skyraider. His name is painted on the fuselage. Medal of Honor citation displayed nearby. An interviewer asks, Mr. Fisher, what do you want people to know about the A-1 Skyraider? Fisher looks at the aircraft for a long moment before speaking. The A-1 was the right aircraft for close air support in Vietnam. No question. Long loader time, weapons flexibility, survivability, perfect for the mission. But here's what the medal and the museum display don't tell you. We used the right tool to implement the wrong strategy. We measured body counts when we should have measured political progress. We optimized tactics when we should have questioned the strategy. We kept doing what we were good at instead of asking whether it served any larger goal. I saved Jump Myers. I'm proud of that. But 33 other A-1 pilots didn't make it home. Not because the aircraft failed. Because the strategy we served was unwinnable as designed. You can have the perfect tool, perfect execution, perfect courage, and still lose completely if you're answering the wrong question. What was the wrong question? Fisher's answer comes without hesitation. We kept asking, how do we do this better? Better close air support, better interdiction, better rescue. We never asked, should we be doing this at all? Is this approach capable of achieving the political objective? The A-1 taught us that appropriate technology matters. Match the tool to the task, that's important. But we learned the harder lesson too late. Appropriate technology in service of inappropriate strategy is just a more efficient way to fail. The interviewer pauses, then asks, do you think we've learned that lesson? Fisher's silence stretches long enough to become its own answer. Then, 20 years in Afghanistan. Same pattern. Tactical excellence. Strategic confusion. Metrics that showed progress while we were losing. You tell me. Later, Fisher walks through the museum alone. Stops at other exhibits. Different wars, different aircraft, different generations of pilots who flew perfect missions in service of questionable strategies.
Afghanistan withdrawal, 2021.
Iraq, 2003 to 2011.
Việt Nam, 1965, 1972.
The pattern repeats because institutions optimize for measurable success, sorties flown, enemies killed, rescues completed, while ignoring unmeasurable failure, political objectives unmet, strategies unwinnable from inception. Fisher returns to the A1 display one final time before leaving. The aircraft sits silent, beautiful, powerful, tragic. Monument to both excellence and waste. He thinks about the lesson he learned too slowly. Before you ask how to execute better, ask if you're executing the right thing. Before you optimize tactics, verify your strategy is sound. Before you celebrate tactical heroes, make sure they're not dying in service of strategic failure. The A1 Sky Raider proved obsolete technology can be perfect for specific missions. It also proved that tactical perfection cannot fix strategic bankruptcy. 34 pilots died learning a lesson their country still hasn't fully absorbed. Fisher knows this because he's watched it happen again. And again. And probably will again. Fisher spent decades flying perfect missions that couldn't win an unwinnable war. The A1 proved that the right tool with the wrong strategy is just an efficient path to failure. If this story made you think about your own work, where you're optimizing tactics instead of questioning strategy, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe, because understanding the difference between doing things right and doing the right things might be the most important lesson you never learned in school. What are you executing perfectly that shouldn't be executed at all? Let me know in the comments.